Now let's get into this story about Channel migrants being allowed to work. It was broken by my colleague Charles Hymas on The Telegraph on Saturday. As you can imagine, it's created a little bit of a stir because on one hand we've got the government pushing through this Rwanda bill, which it says it's doing to be a deterrent to people who are paying criminal gangs thousands of pounds to come here by barely inflatable dinghy. Now, as you'll probably be aware, there's a huge backlog in asylum processing. So some people who have been here for more than 12 months have been allowed to work. Now, that to me, I think is counterintuitive, because if you're saying to people, if you come here illegally by boat and you have to wait for up to 12 months for your asylum claim to be processed, but actually don't worry because after that year we'll bring you into the workforce anyway, isn't that just acting as the opposite of a deterrent? Isn't that saying to people, you come across here because there's a chance of you working? It also kind of defies the logic, doesn't it, of an asylum claim? Because arguably, if you're then seeking work after that 12-month period, you are in effect an economic migrant, not necessarily an asylum seeker. So that's where the story is now. We had a lot of response to it by our readers. I mean, one particular reader who said, look, I'm a 58-year-old white working class guy. My wife works in care. We've worked hard all of our lives. We feel that the government is treating people who come here illegally in a worse way than it treats its own. You know, it puts people up in hotels and then it says at the end of the year that you can have a job. We found this information out, by the way, through a Freedom of Information request. So it's not as if the Home Office would have necessarily been forthcoming with this information in the first place. And in a moment, I'll ask you what you think about it, but let's just look at what the Home Office said. A spokesman gave us a statement and they said, in 2010, the government restricted asylum seekers' rights to work so that individuals who have had an asylum claim outstanding for more than a year can only apply for jobs on the shortage occupations list, and once employed may have their taxpayer support withdrawn. OK, so the question is then, do you think that these asylum seekers should be able to work if they're waiting that long? Wouldn't it be better to put them into the labour force, not least when we do have a shortage of certain sorts of workers? Or actually, is this the opposite of a deterrent? Does it just attract more people to come here? Is it giving people who come here illegally, particularly, you know, risking life and limb on the channel, a sort of licence to come here if they end up with a job at the end of it?